Good afternoon. This is, give me my hands. Good afternoon. This is Charlie from the Bali Spirit Festival, and we are here for the 16th annual, where the theme this year is Come Together. And I am sitting with the lovely and talented and beautiful and mellifluous Daphne Tse. And for those of you who don't know the word peripatetic, look it up, because this woman embodies that word. Daphne is a singer-songwriter, beautifully talented and gifted. And she came in through yoga and then into Kirtan and now into what she calls voice activation as a way of sharing her spiritual gifts to the world. And we're here today in conversation to share a little bit about Daphne's journey. And perhaps you in the audience watching might take some juicy tidbits and morsels of information that you might be able to integrate into your lives to become the very best version of yourselves.
This juicy coconut.
Yes. Daphne, I'm so happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you too,
Yeah.
Charlie. Oh my God.
I've known Daphne for over 20 years. She's performed several kirtans here at the Yoga Barn, which is where the Bali Spirit Festival is being hosted this year. And I'd like to start out just to have you introduce yourself a little bit. I'm very curious to know, or the audience might be curious to know, where are you from and what inspired you to go into first the yoga and then the music industry? And then the music industry is one thing, but then the spiritual music industry is a completely different thing. So I'm curious to hear a bit about the arc of your journey, and then where you go in the world and what you share and what you're feeling passionate about these days, and what kind of reaction you're getting out there in the big wide world.
Okay.
So take it away. Where are you from?
Well, I am originally from Texas, from San Antonio, Texas, born and raised, but in a fusion kind of family. My mother is Mexican, and my father's Chinese from Hong Kong. So we actually called ourselves Chexicans growing up. Chinese, Mexican, Texan.
Chexican. Daphne the Chexican.
And I'm a middle child, so I love gathering people. I love being in the middle. I like having a lot of action around.
Come together.
Come together, exactly. Yes. It didn't start out that way, actually, though. When I was young, quite young, I was very, very shy. I think because my older sister and my second sister had, it's the more attention was there. So
Introvert? More an introvert.
More introvert, yeah. I was in school as a young child. I didn't speak much. Surprising. Anybody who knows me would say, what? And then, but as a, elementary school, I was just like the teacher's pet, and I would hide behind the teacher. And then finally we had this little audition for Mary Poppins.
That's right.
If you know this musical, I loved Mary Poppins, and the main person I loved, the singer, was the bird lady. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag. And I auditioned for that song. But it's quite a low pitch, the song. So I had a high voice. So anyway, whenever we auditioned, I didn't get the part. And music teacher, yeah.
And how old were you at that time?
I must have been like 7 or 8, 6, 7, 8, something like that.
So you didn't get the part.
I got the part, but I wasn't really told why.
Okay.
Just I didn't get the part. So I thought it meant I wasn't a good singer. I thought it meant I couldn't sing. So I got really shy, and I would be in the choir and kind of hide out, but I didn't really do break out in the young ages of singing, as a solo or anything. And then when I got to middle school, I got into the choir there, and then I got into gymnastics and cheerleading, and started to get out of my, kind of break out of my shell.
Okay.
And then through high school, I sang in show choirs, and finally the choir teacher said, you need to do a solo. So I did a solo for "Take Me Out to the Ball Game,"
which she's singing today at her workshop at 3:00. Yes.
And then from there on, I just really loved especially pop music. Pop music was, I really wanted to be a pop singer. And if you remember Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, those were my very favorite singers. And fast forward to college, university. I went to the University of Texas in Austin, and I listened to them all the time. And I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. And then I said I wanted to move to Los Angeles. Told my dad, and he said, well, you can move to LA as soon as I have your diploma on my desk.
Good dad.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
And so I did put the diploma on his desk, and my sister and I drove out in a red sports car cross country straight from Texas to Venice Beach. And we were so excited. I got a job at the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, working in the industry, and got work behind the scenes, doing guest relations and bringing in the artists. And to my great luck, nobody was really of the team. There was like 30 of us on the team from all over the world that had come in to work for the show, and nobody was that interested in like being there for the music sound checks, but I was. So they would let me go backstage or back there when the artists came in, and I got to sit there with Celine Dion.
Wow.
Doing sound check. I got to sit there with Mariah Carey, Placido Domingo, all these amazing
icons.
singers. Yeah, and
you got to meet them?
Yeah. Because you're escorting them.
Right.
You just couldn't ask for their autograph.
Okay.
And so I thought at that moment, oh, you know what? I don't want to be behind the scenes. I want to be singing on stage. And from there on, I just started, take acting classes and, pursuing being a singer-songwriter in Los Angeles.
And was your arc that, that professional sheen of stardom? Like, at this time you weren't being called in any spiritual way. You just wanted to become a pop diva.
Yeah. But funny enough, I wanted to be a pop diva, but funny enough, I was singing in the Catholic Church in Beverly Hills.
Okay.
So I sang, there's a really beautiful guitarist, vocalist. I don't even know how I met her, but I, grew up Catholic so I was singing in the church there, and she was playing guitar and singing, and I would sing with her. And so she was one of the reasons I started to play guitar, actually, in my 20s. But so I was singing in the church and then hoping to be a pop star. And it was a little bit confusing at some point, because it was like trying to get into, this like shiny world of pop. And then, I would say it was like obviously chanting in the church. So I was doing it, both things. And at one point I, thought, I don't really know what I'm doing. I think I'm just going to abandon ship and go backpack in Europe.
Okay. You had yet to discover yoga.
No, I really wasn't doing, there was Pilates and things like that, but no, I wasn't into yoga.
So we were speaking earlier and talking about the value of getting outside the box and travel. And if you feel like you're at a point where you might be stuck in your life, that is one way. If you're not feeling like you're finding your calling, your spirit, you're stuck in whatever way, travel is a great way to go outside of the box and have a different experience in the world, as we're having here. For those of you out there who have any interest to come to Bali, this is a place where you can definitely get some inspiration to find your calling. But so you went to Paris, I believe.
Yeah, I took a one-way ticket to Paris.
Okay.
And I remember asking my cousin, like, how do you travel? And he's like, first you do is you buy the plane ticket, and then you're going. So I still remember that to this day. It's like, you want to do something, make an action and buy that ticket, and then everything else will start to flow. Okay. And that's really what happened. And then I backpacked through maybe 40 different, anyways, many, I had a Eurorail pass. This is before Euro or anything. So it was quite inexpensive to travel to Greece and all these places. And I was writing my own little songs and meeting people. And like I was telling you earlier, I got out of Los Angeles and got out of this bubble thinking that's the only thing I ever wanted. This is it. And then when I got to Paris, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many other things. People are busking on the street. You can go see classical music. There's a whole other world of music that I wasn't exposed to, that inspired me to think, oh, I can do something. Doesn't have to be look like this, because the industry was so challenging if you didn't have an in, or back then before, the hashtag Me Too thing, a lot of things happened with young girls, trying to make it in Hollywood, and it was standard. So, and I had enough integrity that I knew, no, that's not what I want to do. So it was a powerful moment for me to explore outside.
So now you're seeing more of the world, but you still haven't found, like, I met you when you were on the arc as a kirtan artist, right? And so I want to talk to you about how that transition from LA wannabe to traveler, then to discovering, I guess, the world of yoga, spirituality, and incorporating and weaving your love of music into that world, and then to how finally you transferred into or transitioned into this voice activation practice, which you do.
Yes. So I came back from Europe, had no money, and ended up moving with my sister in Chicago. She was like, yeah, come stay with me. And there was an Old Town School of Folk Music, and Joni Mitchell was opening like the amphitheater there. And I listened to her for, my mom liked her a lot and we listened to her a lot. So I got to meet her and inspired by learning. At that school, it was not about getting it right. It was more of being yourself and exploring that the true nature of your voice and the what you have to say. And then at that same time, it was very freezing. It was freezing cold in Chicago. So my sister was doing Bikram yoga, and that was my first exposure. I was doing Bikram yoga in a small studio in Chicago, and really getting into the practice, and everything changed. And then I moved back to Los Angeles. Actually, a friend of mine asked me to come back, and I ended up a friend of mine gave me a VHS tape, and it was Eric Schiffman. Mm-hmm. Do you know him from Los Angeles?
Of course.
So I was practicing with him, and it was Ali McGraw, it was a tape, cassette tape, VHS tape. And so when I got to Los Angeles, I looked at the tape and I was like, I need to find this guy. And I ended up in front of Yoga Works in Santa Monica. Mm-hmm. And I went into the studio, and he wasn't there, but I thought he was. I was so young. I was like, oh, is an Eric Schiffman here that I could meet? And it ended up that the manager was sitting there, general manager, and we started chatting. She's like, what are you doing here? And I said, I just moved from Chicago. I don't really have a job, but I want to do yoga with this guy. And she goes, well, would you want to work here? And you can do yoga for free, and you can take his classes. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started to work there the next day.
Amazing.
It was a Saturday. I started on Sunday morning, and stayed working at Yoga Works, I guess, that, with Mati and Chuck and the old crew of, Rod Stryker. And so many people. I met Shiva Ray there. And that was my next little hub of global connection. And
now you've met your community.
Yes. The spiritual community and the teachers there were absolutely phenomenal. All the teachers you see, Sean Korn, amazing teachers that are out in the world doing what they do.
Most of whom have been through here.
Yeah, have been through here. We're teaching there. Mm-hmm. On a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So I got to really it was like a university in some ways for me to learn about yoga. And my first kirtan was with Jayatol there.
Right.
And that's who my teacher, I still did my kirtan training with him. And I got exposed to singing not for performance.
Right. For participation.
Not
expectation.
Yeah, exactly. For connection and devotion to something greater than ourselves. And I already been doing that in the Catholic Church. Right. I already knew about singing to God, but I didn't have the experience of doing it in that particular with mantra and Sanskrit and different gods or goddesses, because growing up Catholic, right, there was always one God. And when I got to explore the goddesses and all the different, facets of the meaning, and then knowing that actually they're just part of us, it was so much more empowering than thinking divine is separate from me. I am those qualities of the divine, and I can embody those and explore those parts of myself that have been hidden for a long time.
Beautiful.
Yes. So
let's fast forward to 20 years later, because now it's 2024.
Yes.
You started on the arc of that path, right?
Yes.
And Daphne is so part of our family that I don't know. This is the 10th maybe festival for you, 12th. Daphne actually programmed the festival at least 1 or 2 or 3 years.
Many. I actually moved here.
Right.
I was invited to help start the festival with the initiating team. I was running big productions in Los Angeles, and Robert Weber came to one of our events. Rob Weber is the co-founder of the Bali Spirit Festival, along with Megan Poppenheim and Dek Goon. Mm-hmm. Yes. And he just came, and it was a music world festival with everybody, Jayatol, Sheila Chandra, Gurmit Karkalsa, Reverend Michael, Shiva Ray, Donna Delore. I mean, all of these wonderful spiritual teachers and musicians. And Rob came up to me afterwards and said, Kavi was like 2, and he said,
Rob's son.
Yeah, he's now, 18, 19, whatever. But he said, we want to do this on this island in Indonesia called Bali. Would you be interested to come and produce it with us? And and I said, well, I'm really here in LA and busy, and I was really focused on that. And it took some time. And then Meg emailed me a few times, and then Rob emailed me a few more times, and he said, well, hey, I have a recording studio in the jungle at my house, and I know you're a singer. Why don't we work on a CD together as part of the deal? And you come out, do the CD, help us start the festival. And then 6 months, you can go back to LA. So my contract was 6 months.
Okay.
Contract. And then I was going back to LA. And what are we now? 16 years later or longer. So it was an amazing, I'd say, not even synchronicity. It's meant to be that for me to leave LA once again. It was another kind of departure from the spiritual world in Los Angeles to a global setting of spiritual connection that wasn't available for me in Los Angeles.
And elaborate, if you would, because now you're transitioning from, of course, Tinseltown, Hollywood, right? Sheen, facade, artifice, some could say pretense, and you come to Bali, which is the 180-degree opposite of that, right? How did your music evolve and transition here in beautiful Bali? I mean, here we are at this festival, right? Come together. This festival could only happen in Hindu Bali, which just has this depth of centuries of intrinsic devotion and offering, and just this attitude that there's a whole invisible and unseen world surrounding us that they are devoting. The Balinese are devoting their lives to, pouring their hearts out. How did that influence your music, and how does that also? How have you experienced that in connection to all the other artists that are also performing here?
Well, we spoke a little bit about Mother Teresa to this morning, right? And so there was always like a spiritual connection to these teachers or the spiritual beings that are doing seva, and I always had this longing to be connected to that energy. And when I came to Bali, actually, I landed here with one harmonium that actually Shiva and Jai gave me as a giveaway, a farewell present, and a guitar. And I remember landing here going, I don't even know what I'm doing in this land. And interestingly enough, some years later, I was thinking about a spiritual teacher here said to me, a priest, Katut Arsana, said, when you go to India, people go to India and they look for the ashram. You're like looking, which ashram do I want to go to? What do I want to study? But when you come to Indonesia, you land in Bali, and Bali is the ashram. You land on this land, and that was in 2008, so it was quite different. Bali was different than now. And I found myself in a small little room and next to this river. And the first night, actually, I woke up and I felt this energy. Something was happening in the room that I never had experienced. And the next morning, the girl who I was living with, she said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, there's spirits that are by the river. Just make sure you make friends with them, and you just say, And she said, what I loved is she said, the veil is so thin here. The spirits, that because the Balinese are always offering to the spirits, they're like our friends, she said. So, you just say, hey, and the curtain opens and they're right there. You don't have to do a lot of crazy ceremony to like, hey, got to come on out, spirits, that they want to support and they want to, play. And they want to, and so that was really a powerful experience for me because I used to be scared of other entities. And when she said they're your friends, if you befriend them, they can support your path. And and so one of the songs that I had already had a start on, but ended up recording it here at Rob's house, is Saraswati Mata. And that was about, it's about the goddess of music, but also of the river flowing and the energy of the mother. And I do feel that when I come to Bali too, it's very feminine embracing, nourishing energy with the land and the water and the people. And I think that's why so many people are drawn to Bali is, a recognition and remembrance of belonging that we don't get sometimes in other cultures, especially as foreigner coming in, as somebody coming into the land. The Balinese are some of the warmest, beautiful people that see you.
Beatific smiles.
Yes. So
this is a beautiful segue, actually, because the word I used at the outset was mellifluous in describing your muse. And can we pause for a moment? Would you mind just playing a minute or so of that song so that you can share it with the people listening?
Yes, happy to.
Yogis and yoginis, Daphne Tse, Saraswati Mata.
Thank you. So the beautiful thing about this song is when I landed in Bali, then I was able to live actually with Rob at his house and recorded in a studio. And then I recorded the song and he said, oh, the name of this recording studio is Saraswati. So it was all meant to be. And this song is about the flowing river, the goddess Saraswati, who is the goddess of learning and the goddess of music and the goddess of grace and flow. So. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha Om Mata Om Shri Saraswati Namaha Om Mata Om Shri Saraswati Namaha Om Mata. Oh Mother, I thank you.
Beautiful.
That's it. Yeah, dedication to all the moms, but especially to my mom, who you met.
Yes, of course.
Lydia, and she came to many festivals.
Yes, of course.
So, music is so powerful in the sense it takes you back to exactly the moment that you first experienced the song.
Right, as always.
Yeah.
And you can smell, you can taste, it brings you right back to that. One of the important things that, if we can rewind back to your beginnings here in Bali, I want to talk more about what, your gift to the world now. And the fact that you are encouraging participation as opposed to spectation, and that your offering of service is something bigger than yourself. So the example I use is that, I want to tie back first to your starting at the Yoga Barn.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about that too.
Before you went to the Bali Spirit Festival.
Yeah.
And you were telling me earlier, and I had completely forgotten this, that when we would design the posters for your Kirtan events, that we couldn't say that it was a singing event, right? And the reason why we couldn't say it was a singing event is because why?
Because people were not excited to join in to sing. They wanted to observe, but they were quite shy. And maybe it's because, who knows what happens in people's childhoods or whatever, but it was not as, people weren't as receptive to coming to sing together. They wanted to enjoy the music. So
then when we use the word concert on the posters,
concert.
If it's a concert,
sacred music concert, we would say.
Because they would then come because
fill the room.
It was a spectation, not a participation, right? And now you fast forward to now, and it's flipped, hasn't it?
It's flipped. If you say, come and sing, come get to know your voice activation, classes are full. So the world's shifting in the sense, I think, of people realizing that their voice is something that number one, they can claim as a tool for healing for themselves, but that the vibration, there's obviously a lot of science around the vibration of what our own voices do to our own organs, our body, our spirit, our, our mind. So, yeah. And I want to say that for you, regarding working with you, is you're the first one, actually. You knew me as a singer-songwriter, not necessarily as a kirtan artist. I mean, I wasn't doing a lot of kirtan in Los Angeles, actually. So when Yoga Barn opened and you were doing the schedule, you said, "Oh, well, you sing. Why don't you lead the Sunday kirtan events?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And you're like, "No, you'll be doing every Sunday. We'll just put you on the schedule." And I tell the story all the time that Yoga Barn, people wouldn't believe it now, the Yoga Barn, but sometimes it'd be me and Charley and Murni at the kirtan, the three of us. And we just, yeah, somebody's coming. So it started out quite small, 3, 4, 5 people. And then over time, I probably did at least 3 years there on Sundays and teaching vinyasa flow and restorative and all the things. But the audience, the participation grew and grew and grew. And we didn't have a sound system. And I remember when it got to like 60 people, we're like, maybe we should get a microphone or something because they can't hear us. But I just want to say that because if you are in your community and you're starting something new, sometimes it starts small. It starts 2, 3, or 4 people, but it grows the more you hold on and you hold the space for people to come. And I really want to champion Charley and Meg and Deck for doing that with Yoga Barn over all these years, because I do remember classes very, very small. And slowly things, percolated and got fertilized over the years. And I just love to see, to come here now. And people will tell me when I go around the world, "Oh, have you ever heard of the Yoga Barn before?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I think I've heard of that before." So it's such a beautiful full circle to come back and do music. I'm going to do actually a kirtan at the Yoga Barn. I think they've told me May 17th.
All right.
So, but anyway, yeah, to come back and play again. But it was really you that said, you should just do it. And whoever comes.
I'd like to tie this to service greater than self, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we realize that the world is not on a sustainable trajectory, right? This culture of infinite resource and natural resource extraction and people just trying to get ahead at all costs and climbing fictitious ladders that make you sick to your stomach, right? Mm-hmm. That our belief is that, we thrive when we're being of greater service unto others, right? Mm-hmm. And that starts, we believe, with, first taking care of the temple that is your body, eating healthy, nutritious, organic food, being in right relationship with your loved ones, family, friends, community at large, and then extending outward beyond. And that each and all of us have certain innate talents, certain passions that maybe we've suppressed. Like Daphne initially was suppressed in her musical talent, and she was able to break through that shell and look at what she's now sharing, with the world, because she's no longer, the shackles of suppression are off, right? So our hope is with the festival that people come here and they experience the juice of this inspiration. This, oh my God, I can change, through meditation or through dance or through Vipassana. Oh, the Vipassana is not happening here. That's silent retreat. But or breath work or any of these differing modalities that you can discover to say, you know what, I can live a different life. And so for those of you listening to this, there's other opportunities for you out there if you're listening, right? And so I always give this example of someone wanting to be a peanut farmer, right? But maybe they were suppressed and they never became the best version of peanut farmer that they wanted to be. And maybe they came to Bali Spirit and they said, you know what? I've always wanted to be a peanut farmer, and so, damn it, I'm going to go back home and be a peanut farmer. And don't we need the best peanut farmers in the world? As with every different modality, if it's inspiring you, go do it, right? And so I bring that up because it segues into something that you were telling me earlier that I thought was fascinating about Japan. So you went and met a community of farmers, right? That were not really inherently spiritually based people, right? If I understand correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And you had or participated in an event with them that had to do with voice activation. And so tell me who these people were and what they were and how they responded to what you were offering them.
So I was invited by a good friend of mine who lived in Tokyo. She organized things for me, but she, over COVID, left the city. Same thing, had a kind of wake-up call and said, forget it. I'm not going to be in the city, this cement, and moved to about 330 meters up Fuji, at Mount Fuji. She'd always dreamed of doing it. And it's interesting because she's single, female, or divorced, and moved there, and everybody's like, freaking out in the community because like, what do you don't have a husband here? You don't have kids here? Why do you do? What do you? She goes, because I want to see Fuji every day from my window, and that's what I'm doing. And so, even that is so amazing to see a single female going, okay, I'm just going to do this because I want to.
She listened to the voice,
and then she connected with this big community of community farmers.
Okay,
and they're protecting the seeds in Japan and doing incredible work together. I'd say maybe like between mid-20s all the way to 40s. And so she decided, oh, well, if you're going to come visit me, why don't I put together a little event? So the invitation was a concert, actually. They thought they were coming to hear me sing, these farmers. And we ended up, we ended up having, can we cut that really quick? Sorry, because I just touched this.
It's okay, just keep going.
Okay. So we ended up having a session of me singing and connecting with them first, and then I bring in a lot of voice work and showing people how to use their body as a musical instrument. What you can do with your voice and how it can benefit you on a daily basis. And so we get people up dancing and moving and tapping. And one of the farmers said to me after, because they had a great time, I just saw a totally different.
And Japanese aren't known for being super extrovert,
yeah.
right?
Unless they know me.
Okay. So here you are with a bunch of Japanese farmers.
Yeah, and they're
seed savers.
Yeah, they're seed savers, and they're dancing and we're singing, and it was a wonderful, beautiful time. And then afterwards, the main, it was his place we went to. He came up to me and he said, I thought I was going to come and listen to a concert and listen to you sing. That's what I thought I was going to do. But he said, I had a whole different experience and I didn't. He even wrote me the other day and he said, I've been using some of the tools with his kids. And he said, because I was just there like about a week ago. And that was empowering to me because I don't, I start to realize like the communities that I go into, it doesn't have to be, it can be so unknown of who can open up to the practices. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be, it can be in Bali Spirit Festival, it could be at a farming community. But it just shows for me that coming together in community is one of the most powerful things we can do, and then share what we have as a gift. Like I could share with them the sounding and the voice connection, and they could share with me what they're doing with honey, what they're doing with all these amazing crops, and they're doing a summit now. So they're bringing other farmers from all over Japan to see what they're doing. It's like a blueprint to then do that in other farming communities. So I just found it to be quite empowering to never know where you're going to land and never know where your gifts are going to be received and who they're going to be
sharing your gifts, right? Mm-hmm. That inspire them and inspire you. It's reciprocity, mm-hmm. right? It's a experience of reciprocity, and this is how the paradigm will shift. Mm-hmm. And what was about the honey? There was something about the honey. Were they honey farmers?
Well, there's many different types of farmers, but one was honey. That's how they did, was saving the bees and then all these different types, which I brought for you, but all these different types of honey that have different qualities of flowers. So they infuse the flowers in them. Mm-hmm. But people actually come from quite, all over to get this particular person's honey. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of sweet because I was just thinking, that's what we can do with our energy is like, or they say madhu here, right? But mm-hmm. when something's sweet and, opens your heart in a way that you just think about eating honey. That's the essence, if I can even point back to the practice which is what I do, is bhakti yoga. And the practice of bhakti yoga, a lot of people think of yoga as you're doing yoga downward dog or you're doing asanas. And bhakti yoga actually is the practice of devotion to something greater than ourselves, devotion of love. And it's that nectar, the sweetness or honey of our spirit, our soul, our connection to whatever you call divine. And that can be connected. You can connect to that through your own voice, through sound, through dance, all of these practices in India. For me, bhakti yoga is one of the most widely practiced yogas in India. And my teacher, Ammaji, is the one that thinks she does is hug. Hugging is the medicine of bhakti yoga.
Right.
And actually, we did that with the farmers.
That's right. Good.
So it was so cute because all these farmers, I always invite audience to connect heart to heart.
Right.
And now that COVID's over, it's wonderful to be have the connection to each other, heart to heart.
Yeah.
And so one of the things you can do at home is hug your family members, connection, touch, and hugging and sounding at the same time.
Right.
I mean, one of the tools I love to teach is so simple, is just putting your hand on your heart and putting your hand on your heart and using the sound to the sound of the heart. This is the vowel sound of the heart. And just once or twice a day. So if you do that, you can sense in your heart chakra, and there's a release, there's an opening of space and connection to your deepest self, which then, as you're talking about, is like some people ask me, well, I don't know what my true passion is. Some people are not even connected to know what they really want to do. And I think that heart on hand, taking a moment to reset and ask yourself, what is important, what's valuable to me. And I've been doing that lately myself too, is, I can go and travel and remembering what the importance of value of this life is.
Beautiful.
Your life.
Yeah, Daphne, I'm so thankful and grateful, always just blessed to be in your presence and company. I know that you're doing incredibly important work.
Thanks,
You're sharing your heart and your art and your passion with the world writ large. And you are one of many points of light at this incredible festival. We're just so honored and always pleased to have you here. And that one thing just to leave with, for those listening, we've touched upon it here about finding your own passion, listening to that inner voice, right? Not listening to the naysayers. It can only come from inside you. And so if you can kind of leave with that, whatever thought you have about that, that would be appreciative.
Thanks, Charlie. Well, that's how I landed here in Bali. I took a risk, a chance, and actually I love my dad because he said, you can always come back. If it doesn't happen for you in Bali, you can always come back home. But you will never know if you don't step out and see what is it that that is calling me to something different than what I'm already doing. So yeah, I'm really grateful that I took that step and got on that plane, because that's why I'm sitting here 20 years later.
How do you change the world?
One person at a time.
One person at a time.
That's right.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah. Lovely to see you. See you later.
See you later.